Welcome back. I'm in the studio with Mr. Jackson Mthembu, Minister in the Presidency. A lot is going on and we had to deal with the controversial issues first, but then the issues that matter to all of us. High unemployment rate, no economic growth, NDP that is stagnant, new NHI, you name it, it's out there, it is confusing. What is the #1 priority for this government and how are you dealing with it?
Well, the #1 priority is, as pronounced by the President, growing the economy and ensuring that we create the necessary jobs for our people. Our people need jobs. But we also know, Tim, that growing the economy will not be easy. It's not only our economy that has not performed that well. Also, global economies have not performed well. Also, economies of our size have not performed that well. So we must look at this growing the economy in proper perspective. But we are intent on working, as we have said in recent times, the President is now going to chair the NEDLEC sittings almost every month, precisely because we want to say to our partners who are civil society, who sit in NEDLEC, our partners who are labor, our partners who are business, what can we do working together to grow this economy? Government can have all good intentions, but it's the private sector that needs to come to the party, that needs to invest either from abroad or even those who are internal to keep on investing in our economy.
But here's the point, Minister, that you know the critics of government raise all the time and say, can government really grow the economy besides talking about growing the economy, given that it is beholden to the unions? That's an example given. That the interest groups that government is working with are actually committed to their positions and are not coming to the party. Here's an example. You have the ESCOM situation, right? A high debt level there. It's a government or state-owned entity under the leadership and the management guidance of government. It's in a mess as is because of government. And then there's talk that you have to retrench 17,000 people as part of reducing the debt level at ESCOM. But government is not able to pronounce on that or move on that because a tripartite alliance partner, the unions, are not prepared to allow their members to be retrenched. So the status quo remains, and then more money will be put into ESCOM. And of course, the risk of having ESCOM in this situation remains.
Tim, let's first start by saying the difficulties we are facing at ESCOM are receiving the necessary attention from government. In fact, government has said we need a white paper and take everybody on board, including unions, on how we are going to turn around that situation. Not only at ESCOM, by the way, at the body that is responsible for our aircrafts and planes, at the SABC as well. So in all these state-owned entities, or I meant to say SAA, SABC, and ESCOM. So indeed, there will be a paper that will come.
The notorious three. Well, there are other notorious ones.
Well, we have got many SOEs in government that are doing well, by the way. The weather service, for instance, there are many that are doing well, that have not been guzzlers of the public purse. But these, of course, have not done as well as we thought they should. So there are efforts at a government level to stabilize all of them. So it's not something that we can speak to at this point. At this point in time, indeed, they are a pain. They are a guzzler in our public purse, but there are attempts to turn them around. Those attempts and strategies will still come before cabinet and therefore not empowered at this point in time. So it's unlike government is doing absolutely nothing. Government is speaking.
But you know, Minister, I mean, it's not like government is not doing anything.
Yeah.
All right, government is doing something. But what government is doing is to throw money at these ongoing problems. That's the perception. And of course, cadre deployment is blamed, and that it is still continuing. So, you know, people look and say, but at what point does it stop? Is there any line that you are drawing in the sand to say we will not be giving more money unless this and that happens? Or is it going to be a case...
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, please.
If Eskom were to fold up, we will not be broadcasting here.
Yeah.
We will not have energy efficiency. We will not have all other industries that depend on energy for them to create all the jobs that needs to be created as we speak now. Therefore, it's not an easy matter. Indeed, for now, we have been throwing money because it was necessary to throw money to keep Eskom alive, Eskom afloat, because that's why you are also on air. If Eskom had folded up, you will not be on air, people will not be listening to us. But you are correct. What is the end game? That's what the paper that government is crafting will speak to. To what extent are we going to throw money at Eskom and the SAA, the SABC? At what point are we going to say no now?
Yes.
And that discussion paper that is coming will tell government and will tell people of South Africa what is the end part, what is the end game to this.
When is that paper coming out?
Soon. Cabinet said to the Minister of Public Enterprises, bring that paper immediately. So we think that within the next month or so, that paper will be before Cabinet. Cabinet will look at that paper. Of course, have then included others. I've included the SAA, because SAA also falls within the ambit of the Minister of Public Enterprises. Of course, as an SOE, SABC also is part of the SOE architecture of government. We will then have to look at that paper and say, is what we are getting advisable?
Will the Minister of Public Enterprises be still, will he still be there in a month or two, given the efforts on the part of the economic freedom fighters, the EFF, to have him removed, to force him to resign? And you know, this has been going on for quite a while.
Let's just assure you, the Minister of Public Enterprises was not appointed by some red people or people wearing red overalls and boots. He was appointed by the President of the Republic of South Africa, in consultation, of course, with the governing party. So we have had no qualms from either the governing party or from the president. And from where I'm seated, come 2 months or 3 months, the Minister of Public Service, of Public Enterprises will be there, will give us this paper, of course, not working on his own, working with the Minister of Finance, working with the Minister of Energy. They'll come to us and say, how do we move forward with all these issues that we're facing? But these are challenges that faces all of us, not only government. That's why, because the other downside, you are saying that we should have retrenched and removed the people from Eskom who are employed there. You need a mechanism. You need a methodology. You don't just go in there and say, you go home, you go home, you go.
Understood.
You need a well-planned, crafted instrument.
And pardon me for the interruption. It's because, you see, any South African who pays attention to public issues and political issues will be concerned when there's talk of government approaching IMF, for instance, the International Monetary Fund. There's talk that we may get to that point as a nation, as a country. Is that being considered in Cabinet?
No, definitely is not being considered, but the reality, you started with a very good question. How are we dealing with the financial and economic sector broadly? I've said to you, Yes, we are in bad shape. Our economy is not growing, it's growing at 0.8%. All of us, that's why we are in NEDLEC, speaking to the labor, speaking to business. Can we put in place plans to grow the economy? Yes, we have put in place those plans. In the Jobs Summit last year, 2018, we put in place 71 indicators and things that we need to do, all of us, to grow the economy. Now we are tracking implementation of those 71 indicators for all of us to grow the economy, not government working in an isolated manner alone, but government working with business. Business, by the way, are the investors.
But here's another point which confuses many of us and citizens generally. In the middle of all these problems of trying to fix the economy, then government comes up with the National Health Insurance Plan. And then it says it's going to cost over 260 billion rands. And people look at what happened at Eskom, happened everywhere else, and say, can government really prioritize the NHI at this time when there are so many problems facing this nation, including the government itself when it comes to the fiscus, that there's no money really? And where are you going to get the money to fund the NHI?
Now, first of all, NHI is the bill is now before Parliament so that we don't jump the gun. Cabinet has said, here is a bill that will assist us in ensuring that all South Africans have access to quality health care. Now, I don't know whether, Tim, you want to say that because we don't have money, we must not think about South Africans accessing quality health care. I don't think that we must think that way. We must say that all South Africans must have access to quality health care. How we do that, of course, that will also be informed by how much do we have in the kitty. And how do we then roll out the NHI, informed by how much we have in the kitty. But it will be wrong to say that government should not have approved the NHI bill to go to Parliament. Because Parliament will still go to all South Africans and say, this is what government is proposing as a means of ensuring that all of us have access to quality health care. So Parliament will be seized with this bill. But I will disagree with you in saying that government must equip all these non-functional clinics to be functional, to be able to service our people, so that primary health care become the buzzword in the minds and hearts of our people. Now, of course, some of the monies that you need are monies that are being thrown at instruments that are not working. You will then throw those monies to an NHI instruments that will be working to ensure access to quality health care by all our people, immaterial who they are. At the moment, you know, as I know, are you a member of a medical scheme?
Yeah.
You and me are.
Yeah.
Many South Africans out there are not members of a medical scheme.
Of course, yeah.
So only 16% of you and I are able to afford quality health services. And NHI says we are doing away with that discrimination of people who are poor.
I understand, Minister, and of course it's got to be put on the agenda, you see, and the concerns of the people have got to be voiced, because at the end of the day, the quality that you're talking about, people
say yes.
They go to the hospital and say, but why don't we get the quality now? And then, of course, they say, we must fight. Priorities would include things like fighting corruption and getting competent people to run these institutions. Anyway, let's wait and see what comes out of the presidency going forward. But I appreciate that you spent time with us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Tim.
And that's Minister Jackson Mthembu, Minister in the Presidency, giving us an update on the developments within the presidency and, of course, the challenges that they've got to deal with. In a moment, we will be discussing the media, whether it's free or not.